York Giants, they beat the Philadelphia Eagles during Week 18 of the 2023-2024 NFL season, which will put a bow on the year for Big Blue. Their season is officially over. And first off, I just want to say thank you to every single person that clicked on a video of Giants Now this season. We want to give you guys the most informative, entertaining, passion-driven content for free every single day. And I hope that we were able to do that for some people. So I want to say thank you to everybody that tuned in during this season. But here in the offseason, that's where we dominate. We put out videos every single day for free, and no one's going to keep you more up to date than we will. So subscribe and turn your notifications on. We're going to talk about a whole bunch on today's show. There are rumors coming out that circulate around the New York Giants. Jordan Rennard of ESPN, he put out a long piece on ESPN talking about the future for Wink Martindale, Mike Kafka, Jordan Rennard, Mike Kafka, Wink Martindale, Thomas McGahee, Saquon Barkley, and Xavier McKinney. We'll talk about that. But first, I want to talk about the biggest report of today's show or today's news, and that is Mike Garafolo, NFL insider that works for NFL Network, said the expectation is Daniel Jones will be their Week 1 starter when talking about the New York Giants. So there's a lot to unpack there, right? He is signed to a lot of money. He is on the books next year. You are not cutting him this offseason. The soonest that you can cut Daniel Jones is following the 2024 season. Then he would have a dead cap hit at $22 million for 2025. But it's not just that he's going to be ready to go Week 1. I'm sure he will be, but also he's coming back from a torn ACL. And in that clip, Mike Garafolo said the Giants and Jones expect for him to be ready to go Week 1. They talked about how he's been in a wheelchair on the Giants field, throwing footballs, and I think he also said tennis balls of some sort. We knew Daniel Jones was going to attack this rehab. Daniel Jones is one of the hardest workers in this league. You talk to any Giants player, they talk about DJ being the true definition of first guy in and last guy out. So if there is a guy that can get hurt in Week 9 and come back for Week 1 the following season, I do think it could be Daniel Jones. For me, though, I don't think he should be the starter for the New York Giants anymore. I don't. Tyrod Taylor was the best player to play quarterback for this team this year, and it wasn't relatively close. The offense was much better under Tyrod Taylor. Was the offensive line better as well? Absolutely. I'm just over the Daniel Jones experience. I understand anyone that believes in him still. I just don't. I don't think he's a guy that makes you a championship contender. And if you don't have that guy at the quarterback position, you got to go find one. And I'm not saying Tyrod Taylor's that guy. I'm not saying that whatsoever. But I think you need to go draft a quarterback. I think you need to draft a quarterback. If you take an offensive lineman, sure, you give DJ one more year. But I'm going to be honest. I don't want to watch Daniel Jones play football anymore. Do you? Do you want Daniel Jones as QB1 next season for the Giants? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I want to go to this quote from Jordan Rennard talking about Kafka in his future, current offensive coordinator for the Giants. It's not just the Giants defensive coordinator who may be in his last game in New York. This was written prior to the game against the Eagles. Even though Kafka was in the running for head coaching positions last year, Dable has gotten more involved in the offense this year that naturally minimizes Kafka. The Giants are still 30th in total offense and points scored. There have been rumblings that Kafka could want out as well, and I want to focus on that last sentence. There have been rumblings that Kafka could want out as well. And it's not just Kafka who may want out. We'll talk about Wink Martindale in a second. It's been documented that potentially Wink Martindale may want out. Mike Kafka, I thought, did a good job for the Giants last year as an offensive coordinator. And I think he deserves a lot of credit for being able to win games with this limited offense when it comes to weapons, offensive linemen, and quarterback talent. He was able to win 3 games with Tommy DeVito. I believe in Mike Kafka as a play caller. But this is the fact of the matter for me. Brian Daboll was hired as the head coach of the New York Football Giants for what he did as the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. Go be the offensive coordinator. All the great coaches in this league are offensive coordinators that became head coaches and still call plays. We're talking Kyle Shanahan. We're talking coaches across the NFL. It's time. It's time. This is your team. Your future as a head coach in this league is on the line. Go get it done yourself. Hire someone to be the offensive coordinator, but I want Brian Daboll coming up with the game plan on offense as well as calling every single play for the New York Giants next year. We're going to talk about Wink Martindale coming up in a second. But first, I got to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Factor. Go to factormeals.com/GiantsChat50. Use the promo code GiantsChat50 and get 50% off. If you live a busy lifestyle like I do, you don't like going to the grocery store, and you've tried the whole meal prepping thing, you don't have time to cook, you don't have time to prep your groceries, get hooked up with Factor. It's factormeals.com/GiantsChat50. Get 50% off on fresh, never frozen, chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner options. If you want low-calorie options, they have that. If you want low-carb options, they have that. High-protein options, they have that, as well as vegan and veggie. Factor is awesome. The food tastes great. The smoothies are good. The protein shakes are better. It's factormeals.com/GiantsChat50. Promo code GiantsChat50. Jordan Renan, prior to the game, said everything I know about where things stand with Saquon Barkley, Mike Kafka, Wink Martindale, and others maybe on the Giants sideline for their last game. He said this about Martindale. The tension between the Giants defensive coordinator and coach has been documented. It's real. But opposing teams, most recently Eagles center Jason Kelsey and Rams coach Sean McVay, have made clear the respect Martindale garners across the league for his aggressive scheme. There will be demand for Martindale's services if he leaves, unless Mara and Giants ownership are able to convince him it can work out long term. So we told you just a second ago that Mike Kafka may potentially want out. And now sounds like Wink Martindale may potentially want out. This may not be the Giants firing Mike Kafka. This may not be the Giants firing Wink Martindale. This may be Wink Martindale and Kafka opting to leave. I will say this, though. Both coordinators are under contract. So it's going to be interesting to see how this kind of goes away. Maybe they agree to part ways and the contract becomes null and void going into the future. But I'll tell you this much. It's not really the best look in the world when you move on from both coordinators after the season, and especially probably three coordinators, because Thomas McGahee, the special teams guy, is probably not going to be here. I think Wink Martindale is one of the most creative DCs in the league. I think he deserves to be here. I think he coached his butt off this year. But at the end of the day, sounds like it's going to be his decision if he wants to remain a part of Brian Daboll's coaching staff for the New York Football Giants. Let's play a little game of hypothetical questions here. If you could only choose one of these guys to remain with the Giants next year, who would you rather have back if you could only have one? Is it Kafka? Is it Wink? Type the initials of the coordinator you want to see on the Big Blue sideline next year. Let's close the show talking about Saquon Barkley and Xavier McKinney. Jordan Renan says the problem is that the franchise tag is still an option for the Giants, who can absorb the salary relatively easy, given they are in a much more favorable salary cap position this offseason. The evidence from this season seems to suggest that the Giants want Barkley to stay. They refuse to make him available at the trade deadline, and he remains the featured playmaker in their offense. Barkley also wants to stay. Legacy is important to him, and his post-career aspirations include being in New York. He also said this about Xavier McKinney. McKinney is not allowed a touchdown as the nearest defender, but his contract is not going to be cheap. The Giants decided prior to the start of the season they would defer the decision. Now, the price has likely gone up. Are they willing to pay it? The franchise tag is an option for McKinney. Whether Martindale returns, let's not forget their midseason incident, could play a major factor in McKinney's future. Well, Xavier McKinney played like he wanted a big-time contract for the Giants today. 2 interceptions, had a pass breakup. I think Xavier McKinney is a really good safety. It's going to come down to the dollars, and it's going to come down to the cents. How much are they willing to pay? Are you willing to franchise tag him and then sign Saquon Barkley to a 2 or 3 year deal? There are going to be big and important questions that Joe Schoen is going to have to answer, because this is his 3rd season as the general manager for the Giants. And in year 3, that's when the evaluations start. This will be the most important offseason of Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll's life when it comes to being involved in the National Football League. And we're going to break it down here on this channel every single day. So subscribe for free Giants content every single day. The season may be over, but it's off-season time, and that's where we thrive. We're talking NFL free agency, NFL draft, off-season workouts, and so much more. We break it down better than anybody on YouTube. I promise you that, and more content. Did I say for free every day? We'll do that 366 videos at a minimum coming up in 2024. Subscribe and turn your notifications on. And thank you to everybody that tuned in during the season.